So we could get started. I want to thank everybody for joining on a Saturday, and I will definitely make it worthwhile for what we're discussing today. And the topic is essentially, a 4-point agenda to um, how can we use Deepvue in many different ways, especially when it comes to the screener, and how do we make it so that we can, screen for pretty much anything we like, build key screens, and then also get to a watch list that then we can watch and find high potential stocks really, really quickly. So one of the first things, I've set up a new account so that you guys see what I see as well, just to give you that feel. So one of the first things when you get into Deepvue is we have hundreds of presets. And the purpose of presets and why we built them is for you to get started with the screener really, really quickly, right? So we work with some of the top traders out there, investing champions, folks with triple digit returns, and also, different styles as well. So we have swing traders, day traders, and, portfolio managers, and all of those screens are available underneath the screener preset when you click this first drop down. So you'll have save screens and screener presets. And what you want to do is, just explore what some of these top traders, and I'm sure many of you follow them on social media. So you can go ahead and let's say if I click something like mini coil and there's no results for that. So let's just pick another one, Young Guns. So we get results back. Now, when trader, regardless of any trader that we pick, let's just say we do the Minervini trend criteria 5-month and we get a list of results back. The beauty of it is there's no hidden or secret criteria for this, right? You can go ahead and click edit filter, and what you will see is the exact criteria that's being used so that you can study that as well. And I think this is the most important part for traders is to really learn, why, a successful trader A is using this particular screen on a daily or a weekly basis, and look at the criteria that they're using and what they're trying to capture in the markets. Most of the scans that you will see underneath screener presets and top traders are, related to growth. We have some momentum-based screens, some purely fundamental screens, so 20% EPS, 20% sales, and then others like Stan Weinstein purely scan for different stages. So if a stock is in stage 1 versus a stock in stage 2, you can segment the market that way and go through them as well. Now, how do you select screens that are applicable to your trading? And that was the first point that we have for this webinar. So what you want to do is first just define, very generally, just define what type of trader you are, right? So if you're a day trader, your goal may be to capture momentum on that day, and then at the end of that day, you get out of the market in your cash, you go to sleep, you come back the next day, and then you repeat the process again. One way to day trade the market is you can set up screeners in Deepvue where you're capturing momentum intraday. So to capture momentum intraday, for example, you can use screens that purely look for price percent change intraday, which is price percent change from open, so that things when they have bullish momentum to the upside, you can capture that. Or if I'm a swing trader, right, I can do some tactical screening. Usually swing traders, majority of them, what they look for is tight price action to define their risk. And to, for tight price action, we have many screens, for example, that are based on relative measured volatility. So something like the tight range screen right under Deepvue will give you exactly what you're looking for, a list of stocks that are acting, really tight. You can define your risk. Now you will get momentum to the upside or the downside from them. Third is position trade. Position trading is a little bit more based, it's technical based and fundamental, right? So to combine those two, we have something like the Deepvue Universe or the Deepvue Leader screens, which combine fundamental criteria. You want stocks that are making money in the markets, that have a good track record, right? And are acting well. And also have price momentum or trend behind them. And that's what the Deepvue Leaders and the Deepvue Universe screens keep in mind, take into account. Now, to answer the question, you really have to define the type of trader you are for you to kind of look for that particular characteristic or whatever fits your style at the end of the day, right? If you're working 9 to 5 and you you go to work, you don't have access to screens, you're not looking at your, the markets 24/7, you probably want to go towards position trading a little bit more, and you want to account for fundamentals a little bit more, right? And it's hard to be a day trader while working full time because you can't look at the price action. You can't make, the frequency of decision making as a day trader and a frequency of decision making as a position trader are very different, right? Position traders might make 2 trades in a quarter. Day traders make a trade every single day, or most days they make a trade to profit for the markets. So it's very, you have to define your objective first. Once you have defined that, after that, you can look for different screens that account for, 80% technical, 20% fundamental, or something like 60% technical, 40% fundamental if you're a position trader. Now, any questions as I go through on any of this, feel free to ask. But the way we've set up presets is different buckets. So the top traders is really for you to replicate what they're scanning for really quickly. Let's say if I like one of the top trader screens, and let's say I go to the Minervini power play, right? I could click the 3 dots and I could duplicate that as well. So the duplicate, what it does is it takes the screen or criteria, brings it to your saved screens. Now you're able to edit. So let's go ahead and do that. So power play, I'm just going to call it mine. Now it's saved, it runs it. Now it's over here. And now when I click edit filter, I'm able to tweak the criteria. Now let's say Minervini is looking for stocks that have changed 25% or more in a 20-day time span. Maybe we are not looking for that. We want to look for 30% or 40%. You could go ahead and click that and, change that number to 30% if you like. So all of these screens, all the criterias are all available for you to view. You can go ahead and duplicate them, bring them over to your save screen, and then tailor things to your style. Remember what these screens are really trying to tell you is what these traders and how they look at the markets and how it fits their lifestyle. It may not, if I just run a Minervini screen, it won't make me Minervini. Or if I run a Matt Caruso screen or Dr. Wish or Stan Weinstein, the idea is not to this screen will magically fix everything. It's just take those ideas and make them your own for your own trading. I don't see any. There's 2 questions that have come up right away. Let's just answer those. Do you have screens for option traders regarding IV, volume, and theta? We do not have screens or options data in the platform yet. That's something we're working to get, and we will integrate in the next couple of quarters. Is there a way to run a screen for the highest volume ever, define dates such as last 4 weeks and 8 weeks? The end of next month, you will be able to run screens and define a time period for them, and you will get results for all of the whole time period. So we're just about done that functionality, and it will be available in the platform next month. Do screens work pre-market or do these screens work for pre-market and post-market? Yes, they do. So let's just say I grab a screen, I take the screen, high type flag, right? And I want to run it for pre-market data. So I can go to the bottom left menu right here. I go to markets, and then I could run this on post-market. Now it's going to compare one post-market to another post-market and only compare post-market data. Or if I want to run it pre-market, I'll get a different set of results as well. So all screens, as you switch modes, will run on pre-market data, post-market data, or regular market data, depending on what you choose. Why not add categories in Deepvue to group them by day, swing, and position? Yeah, so that's a good improvement that we can make is to introduce tags or bucket them into different folders. So that is something that we could definitely do and give you guys a better idea of what type of trading each of these scans are for. Awesome. So let's keep going. I want to keep it relevant. I know there's a lot of other questions that are being asked, but may not be relevant to today's webinar. I just want to make sure, folks are here for what they signed up for. So that's how you use presets. Again, point of emphasis is to go and look at these particular screens, find your niche in the market, be a day, swing, or position, and then copy those screens over by duplicating them and then customizing them for yourself. Now, how do you build a screen in Deepvue? Let's just say, open to any ideas on what kind of screen you would want to build. If you want to, place that in the comments, maybe I can pick an idea or 2, but we'll build a screen from the ground up in terms of just thought process and what we want to capture in the markets. So let's say I am a swing trader, and what I want to look for is stocks that are relatively tight, stocks that are liquid, and stocks that are, above $15. And I want to make a watch list of those names that are starting to tighten very quickly so that I can define my risk within that range and see if they break out to the upside or the downside. So if we do that and just start building that particular criteria, the first one will be, I just want to see stocks above $15 or more, filter the database so that it does that. So we're now, from 11,000 stocks down to 6,800 stocks. The next thing most traders look for is, let's say, you want the average dollar volume or average volume to be a certain amount so that you're not getting a lot of garbage or lower price companies or less liquid companies coming through. So if we say, I want the average dollar volume to be 25 million, as you type 25M, it will pick up that you're trying to say million. And we add that, we're now at 1,500 stocks in the market. So what we're defining is our liquidity criteria or the universe that we want to operate in. Now, there might be traders, if you're a trader and you're looking for low price stocks, you could go last price, give me all stocks that are less than 15 bucks. Give me, stocks that are less than 15, but still super liquid. You could still do that, right? It's all about what you're looking for, what you're trying to fish in the markets. Now, the next one can be, how do you measure tightness? How do you define tightness? So there's a few things that you can do with that. From a technical perspective, if we take this particular candle, just one of these, and say that, what is the open, what's the range of this candle, right? It opens here and it closed down here. So the range from the high to the low of the day on this particular day is pretty, let's say 3 or 4%. Now, if you're trying to capture momentum in the markets, do you want stocks that have a beta that is really high? Beta is just a comparison of how the stock trades relative to the S&P 500. So if the S&P is up 1%, do you want that, that stock on average to be up 3%? That's how beta works. Another thing that traders tend to use is average true range or average daily range. And average daily range just tells you that on average over the past 20 days, 50 days, X amount, how's that stock trading? So is it moving up and down intraday, 2 or 3% or more? So if you're looking for momentum in the markets, you likely want to stay, in the domain of stocks that are moving 2% or 3% or more, because you're looking to capture volatility, but you're looking to capture directional volatility, be it to the upside or the downside, so that as a swing trader, you're looking to get gains, you scale out, and then you look for that next trade, right? Whereas if you're looking for less volatile stocks, right, and you say that the average daily range or the average true range or the beta of that stock, right, if S&P is up 1%, I want this particular stock to have a habit of only moving 0.5%, half the amount of the S&P. Then you're looking for lower beta, lower volatility stocks, and that's a perfectly fine strategy too, especially mostly dividend stocks tend to do that. So it's all about defining again what you're looking at. So if we're looking at, let's just say, the average daily range, right? And we'll try to find it. And I'm sure it's just not the best at the moment, so there are improvements coming, but let's just look at ADR and ATR. So if I say that the average daily range for this particular stock on a 20-day basis is, it trades on average 3% or more, then the database will give me all stocks that are moving up and down at least 3%, have the ADR of 20-day to be 3% or more. Now we have some volatility, right? We introduced liquidity by saying, give me higher price stocks, give me stocks that trade on average $25 million in terms of volume traded, right? $25 million or more. And also make sure that the average daily range for all the stocks that I'm looking at is at least 3%, because I'm not looking for less volatile. I'm looking for more volatile stocks in the markets. Now, the last piece of it and what we've defined in terms of tightness is relative measured volatility. And relative measured volatility takes a look at how the stock is trading today relative to itself. Is it tighter? Is the price action tighter today than it was on average over the past 20 days? Or is the price action today relatively hot, loose or volatile relative to the past 20 days? So RMV, the closer to zero it is, the tighter it is relative to itself. And the closer to 100 it is, the more volatile it is relative to itself over that particular time span. So if we pick, let's say, RMV 20 days, and we say, just give me, stocks that have a RMV of less than 10. So they're getting very tight relative to themselves. over the past 20 days, and we add that criteria, we're now down to 55 stocks in the market. Now, if let's just save that and call this, I'm looking for, tight price action, right? Or you can say, you can name it whatever you want, right? Tight liquid price action, whatever allows you to kind of remember what you scan for here. But if you don't, you can always click edit filter and look at the criteria that you placed for that screener. So if we take a look at a few of these names, we'll start to see that something like this, now AI, right, is starting to trade relatively in a tight range. It's a volatile stock, right? It's a liquid stock as well, but it's starting to tighten relative to itself. And this is where you can define, okay, my risk can be, if it breaks 28, I'm out of it. I'm interested if it takes that 30 spot and starting to build that pivot. Now we've taken a database of 12,000 stocks, 14,000 stocks, and come down to a list of 55, where we can now start to see, which ones are building a pivot. So something like AMD has now rallied up the right side, tightening for 3 days, is building a top side pivot, and you could clearly define your risk as a swing trader as well. Now, not all of these 55 will be perfect setups, right? And the way you could tweak that screen, so something like this catches the eye. It's now consolidating, right? It's starting to tighten sideways and acting well. So CRDO is now starting to consolidate sideways, getting relatively tight to itself. You could put a topside pivot of 32, track it there. But the idea isn't, the screen is just going to spit out, something like this catches the eye as I go through it, starting to tighten up the right side. So there will be good ideas and ideas that are not so good as well. And the beauty of it is you could go through this and really tighten your screen as well. You could say, okay, RMB less than 10 is not tight enough for me. So what I'm going to do is put 5 instead of 10. And when we put 5, the results go down to 36 stocks. Now you're looking at stocks that are very, very tight to, to themselves as you go through as well. Go through them. The next thing is you can add much of the criteria that you had. So if I get rid of this recommended column and let's just say I want to see relative measured volatility. So if I go down relative measured volatility and I want to sort my results by that, I could do that as well. So now you're sorting by relative tightness, and anything that's a 0 is that this is the tightest price action for that stock on a 20-day basis relative to itself. And that's what, so if we take a look at it, it's, something like ALNY is still in a trend, but it's trading tight. The bar that it saw today is relatively tight to the bars on average over the past 20 days. So CEG is starting to tighten. So this is a measure of volatility of a stock relative to itself and how it's acting. So something like GLBE is starting to tighten versus itself. It's not seeing this rash price action. It's starting to see tighter closes. So any of the criteria that you use to build a screener is also available in the screener table. So you don't have to, you could sort it by all of these different data points as well, and have that in your screener table and kind of see and visualize on a per stock basis what that data looks like. So that is, kind of how I use the thought process is more important here. Is how I'm looking for liquidity. I'm looking for tightness. Okay, let me pull those parameters in and then build a screen around that. See what I get out of that screen and then kind of narrow it down. And it's more an iterative process. It's not going to be a perfect process. The more you use that same screen and you go through it daily or weekly, the more that you will see, the more you'll see that, okay, instead of average dollar volume being 25 million, if I make it 30 or more, I'm getting more focused criteria, more better stocks on my list as well. So it's more an iterative process for you to tweak these as you go, and you'll see these different, okay, hey, I had AMD on my tightness screen on this particular, July 13 while I was going through the markets. And now, the price action for this particular stock is, let's say next week it's around 200. Okay, I should have set an alert around this level, continue to track it. And now this becomes a good screen that I'm looking at on a daily or weekly basis. Let's answer some more questions. Does RMB look at open, close, or high-low day of the range? It's a mix of both. So it doesn't look at one or the other. The way we developed it is we weight the calculation. The exact calculation for RMB is not available because we want to make sure, we have some exclusivity for how it's calculated to Deepvue itself. and Deepvue only, and not other platforms, but it takes into account both the average daily range, the average true range, and weights them in a certain way for you to build, for us to build the score. Do you use up-down volume ratio where upside volume is picking up? Yeah, you can use, it all depends on how you've learned trading. Up-down volume is also available as a criteria that is scannable. So if you want the stock to have an up-down volume ratio of 1.1 or more, you can go ahead and add that as your base criteria, right? If you're looking for a trend in the markets or something that is being accumulated, then up-down volume is a good data point as well. Is it wise to run many screens from various traders or the best to stick to a few? I would say, it all depends on how you start trading. So, especially from year one to, I would say 7, 8, 9, you definitely want to try everything just to find out what works for you, right? If you're gonna, there's no such thing as I'm gonna pick up a book, read it, apply it, and I'm good to go as a trader. It's really not one-to-one like that. If you're less than 10 years, try everything. Try day trading, try swing trading, try futures trading, option trading, currencies, commodities, all of that, news-based, catalyst, whatever. Try all of it and you'll kind of find out what works best. You'll see a pattern, but see each of those things through, right? So if these traders, let's say, let's just pick, Stan Weinstein just didn't wake up one day and said there are 4 stages for a stock and that's how things work in the markets. It was a process that he went over and kind of over time said, hey, I'm noticing this pattern. Or when I trade, my profitable trades are always seem to be what he eventually described as stage 2, right? So it's more of an iteration. I would say try and see. There are many different ways to trade the markets and many different setups, and the ways to look at them as well. But at the end of the day, if you haven't tried, a variety of things to see what your lifestyle fits best, into, be a day swing or position trading, you can't take anyone's really, word for it at the end of the day. How is ADR different from ATR? ATR is the true range and ADR is the daily range. One is high to low and the other is open to close. So that's the difference. But you could go to to get the exact definitions, you could go to the bottom left help menu and look at exactly how we calculate ADR and ATR by clicking the knowledge base right here. So if you search those, you'll get the exact. I think we have graphics in there as well. Do we have to X out of whatever screen we're using prior to building a new screen? So if I'm building a screen, for example, this one, you have to X out of it and save your changes or discard them. Or if you click save screen, this goes away. And for you to create a new screen, it will reset the table and also give you a fresh slate for you to build that new screen. If you want to build multiple screens at the same time, I think that might be the question. The dashboard is going to be the best use case for that because you can have multiple screener tables on the dashboard at the same time. Where will I find it when it's implemented? I don't remember the question, but if something is implemented, we make videos, we make announcements, we make, clips, GIFs, emails, everything. So you'll definitely not miss if something is implemented on the platform. Okay. I don't see. Okay, there's a couple of questions here regarding how do you have the market makers move anywhere going in? Do you have the market makers move anywhere going into earnings? We don't have that data point. We should definitely add that data point, and I'll make a note of it to get it into the platform. Is there a way to see industry ranking and change of ranking on a weekly basis? That is something we're working on in the dashboard to make sure that we get that in. It's being actively worked on. We'll also have the top industry groups, just like we have this, the top stocks in this particular sector or industry. We'll have these be drop downs as well, where you can see the top industry groups and click into them as well. So that will also be available sometime later this month or early next month. Screening versus watch list is still being worked on. So we're in the thick of summer. So a lot of summer vacations, people taking time off, people, preparing for the second half of the year. So that's why some of the updates are a little bit slow over the last couple of weeks. But there's definite, improvements being made. And when we have, the team coming back, we're in the middle of July as we were recording this. Obviously, folks we'll take some time off, and we slow down the process a little bit to not rush releases, especially during summertime. But the team will be back to full strength early August, and we'll be back on pace for many of these features. We have a few things we haven't publicly said that will be available, just to keep them a little bit of a surprise, so that there's a lot more value to what we bring out to the platform. Any chance of short interest data? Yes, we've purchased short interest data globally, and it will be available in the platform. So percent of short float, percent of you know, the exact and accurate numbers as reported by NYSE and NASDAQ will be available in the platform next month. Would you be able to add acceleration in institutional ownership? Yes, that is something we are doing as well. A lot of data integrations will happen next month. We'll also get new market types. So crypto, Forex, OTC, many of these markets, breadth indicators, and then fundamental data, complete set of fundamental data. All of those things will be kind of infused into the platform. Awesome. So let's go to the third point. So what I tend to do as I go through many of these screens is use the alerting module. Again, this is not my account. I've set up a new account just to get a feel for what you guys see when you sign up. So let's say if I tend to set alerts that are really, really clear, or define pivots. If you right click, let's say we right click and add an alert. I want to know if we go above this pivot area of 185 or 187 that AMD is setting up, and you could just, say pivot, top side pivot, or put some note so that when it triggers, you have some understanding of why you set the alert in the first place. And this note can be as long as you like. So you can receive it through email, push notification. If you have the mobile app, make sure you download the mobile app, and it will be, instant push notification sent to that, or it will show as a pop-up within the application as a notification under this alert. So if I set that, what I tend to do is set, if I'm away, let's say if I was working 9 to 5, alerts is how I would operate. Alerts would be how I track breadth intraday. So all you would be looking at is your phone at the end of the day, and you would receive notifications. So let's say if I set 50 topside alerts on ETFs, for example, and I'm seeing many of these trigger, automatically that, hey, the market has bullish momentum to it because you're receiving more topside alerts than downside alerts, for example, right? That's if I'm working 9 to 5, I can't track the markets. The other thing that you want to do is go ahead and take these tickers that catch your eye and place them in a watch list, right? So if I place any of these, so let's just go through. So something like this catches my eye. If I go through, this is acting really well, right? I can add all of these to, let's say, my blue list, and my blue list is how I will track good setups in the market. So anything that makes me pause, something like this is making me pause, can first go into the blue list. And what you could do is then go ahead, look at them closely, and clean out that blue list after you get a whole bunch of ideas from one of your scans. So for me, my trading is mostly based on instinct, because anything that makes me pause, I always tend to go twice through a list to make sure that anything that makes me pause is on that list. Yeah, so now we have a list created. I would go to the watch list and my blue list. I've shortlisted about 7 stocks. What you could do is, if you're working, again, you can set alerts. So CEG is actually, starting to form a pivot to the top side, add an alert, call it top side pivot, watch volume, for example, right? That's something I want to do when I get this alert. So now I have an alert set. If you go here, we have an alert on AMD, we have an alert on CEG that are available. So that is how you kind of take, building a screen. What do I want to look for in the market? What fits my lifestyle? What's best for me at the end of the day, right? And then going through that particular screen in an iterative way, improving those screens by yourself, to going through. And when I do scan, I always go through a particular screen twice just to make sure that I haven't, the same thing that caught my eye a couple of minutes ago is still catching my eye. Take those, bring them into a watch list. You could create your own watch list by clicking create new watch list, or you could use the color coded system. So for me, I could choose a color blue and say that blue is going to be my focus list or setups that I have shortlisted, right? And then I can add all of them quickly to the blue list, go to that blue list, set a few alerts on the top side or the bottom side. If I'm if I'm working full time and I'm not trading full time, right? And I'm not at the desk, That way you receive email notification or push notifications right away when they trigger. And these are really things that are included in the subscription, right? At the end of the day, unlimited um, push notifications, unlimited email notifications. So leverage that, right? It doesn't really cost us anything to give you that, and it's a really nice way for you to track, breadth to the top side or the downside. Another thing I tend to do recently is if you go to watchlist presets and go to the Richard Moglen ETF list, you can set alerts on these ETFs, and as you go through, like on the top side, and when they trigger, you would know that, okay, hey, biotechs are acting well today, or software is acting well, or you could set downside alerts and see, okay, growth stocks are starting to break down. All of that feedback is just real-time information that the market's given you, and all you've done is set alerts to the top side or downside. So for example, on Friday, I received an alert for 10. So if we look at this, okay, I received an alert that, okay, 10 was in a stage one on weekly. It's trying to bottom out sideways. And I had, every time it kind of crosses this 42, 43 area, let me know. I just want to look at the solar space, right? And then, I pulled up that alert, go through these and look at if any of these are starting to act well as well, and if solar were to take, if 10 were to take and go into a stage two eventually, at least I'm prepared that way. So I use a lot of the ETF list a lot more now just to keep tabs on, are biotechs acting well? Are financials acting well? Are we seeing rotation into small caps? What's going on in the markets? Set a whole bunch of alerts, and depending on what triggers, it's real-time information and feedback for me to look at. So the next thing I will cover is, we always get this question, if there was one screen that you want to run, what would you run? And that's why we built the Deepvue Universe. And the criteria of this screen is really, it looks at strength in the markets, it looks at top industry groups, it looks at trend. When we say price versus the 200 days, is above the 200-day, and price versus the 50 days also, it's above the 50-day. So something like this will give you the biggest bucket, and if you were to come in every day, run one scan, the Deepvue Universe would capture that. Another one that Ross loves to use is the up on volume scan. We definitely have it. So if I search up on volume, you definitely want to take into this, as a daily scan just to see which stocks acted best and what was up on the day. And you can pull in, if I pull in industry as a column or sub industry, now I could see that the most popular sub-industry on Friday was biotechnology because it's highlighted blue for this particular scan, right? And I can then sort by, hey, give me all the biotechs. I want to take a look at them at the same time. And it looks like biotechs had a really good day on Friday, right? And you can drill down into that group as well now. So, okay, now I want to see all biotechs. So now we're in the biotechnology group, and we could go through the whole group looking at, what things are acting well, what aren't. Again, this is not my primary chart setup, by the way. It's just a new account I created just for this webinar to see how things look. But obviously, I would have relative strength lines and volume and scale the charts a little bit better to have them look like exactly how I use them myself. But you could go through this really, really quickly and really see the strength in biotech really fast as well. So those are the two scans that I would use, and really quickly build a watch list for the next day or the week. But most of my work personally is done on the weekends. So the Deepvue Universe is your first one, and then the second one up on volume as well. Awesome. So let's take a few questions and we will wrap it up there. Do you have volume buzz like TC2000? Yes, we do. If you go to new screen and you click run rate, right? We have relative volume and we have run rate. Both of those are time of day calculations and give you both. We give that both on a 20-day and a 50-day basis, which is the equivalent of volume buzz on TC2000. I find that the application is slow to react when clicking through screener to save on watch list. If you ever have any issues or you feel like something's happening that shouldn't be happening, always click the bottom left help menu, click contact us. We recently got down, our general questions. We respond in less than an hour, and we want to get that down to less than 30 minutes over the next couple of months. Or you feel like you're experiencing a bug or something, always report it, and we will work with you one-on-one to make sure it shouldn't be like that whatsoever. Have you thought of adding a screener preset for Oliver Kell's wedge pop? Yes, we have. We are going to add a lot more of Oliver's stuff into the platform, including the different price cycle stuff that he uses. And wedge pop has been coded. The logic is coded, and we're waiting on implementation from the development team. How do you fix the scale on the chart after you've gotten it to fit well? So, um, you fix the scale on the chart by clicking auto. So now it auto fits, or you could have a custom scale and it will just remember that scale. If you see when I do something like this, it will trigger a save action. And what it's doing is it's saving that scale. So when I go to AAL, now it's not taking the auto scale, it's taking the scale that I set, which is like the manual one, right? A lot of people tend to use the log scale and the auto, and both of those settings will save. If you were to scrunch up your charts like this, let's say like this, and go to the next one, that is an issue that it's not remembering the scale. That's a good catch. I will to speak to the team and make sure that when we set a scale, the relativity of it is saved to the layout. Under this technical metrics, is volatility of the stocks searchable? For example, a screen with high IV and changes in IV. Right now, we don't have implied volatility in the platform. It's something that we will look to get into the platform. So that is a data point I'll note down and make sure we get into Deepvue. Would love to have a more visual way of looking at sector and industry rank, maybe set in performance charts. Yes, both of those things are happening and will be available for you to, you'll have the rank for 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, and how those things change for that particular industry group or sub-industry group in a really clear tabular format to track. Can we create a line graph which overlays the various industry sectors that will show relative strength between them? Yes, sector and industry will turn into symbols, and when they turn into symbols, they will have relative strength, and relative strength will also be plotted both historically and on a current basis. Any thoughts on adding info on stocks that have unusual call or put volume? Yes, we will add that as a dashboard app, but that will be more so early Q1 next year type of thing to get extensive amount of options data. We want to finish with adding equities data and then adding cryptocurrency, Forex, and some of these other, symbols. We'll get closer to 45,000 to 50 symbols, and then we'll pause there to see how everything's acting, and then we'll continue to add on top of that. Awesome. Is there any, why don't you have RSI 14 days under technicals? Is that available somewhere else? We don't have RSI available right now, but RSI, MACD, some of these basic technical indicators will make their way into the platform this summer. So you'll have variable input capability and the ability to say, give me the monthly RSI 10 is greater than 80. Right. So we'll have this capability very, very soon where we won't dictate number of days. We'll just give you RSI as a function and you get to pick number of days. Yes, profit margin is coming soon. A whole bunch of fundamental data is coming soon where when all fundamentals, same as MS, will come to DV, they will come this summer. Fundamental data this summer, a lot of fundamental data, all of it. After that, there will be nothing left in terms of fundamental data. Can you set alerts on news like a doji? It's something we're working on as an implementation or the next level of our alerts, the ability to, do we make alerts and expand it, or do we parse that out into something else called notifications or reports or something like that? That's all being thought of right now as we go through the platform. So right now, our biggest focus, our next release will make our watch list and screeners instant. And then there's the one feature that we haven't said publicly or said too loudly will be available as well the week after. We're just optimizing that. And then mobile will also get a huge update next week as well. And once some of those things are fleshed out, August is all about data integrations. So integrating and infusing Deepvue with new data points, new symbols, and making sure that you guys aren't going elsewhere for that type of data. Brian Shannon's AVWAP already, well, I wouldn't say Brian Shannon's AVWAP, but AVWAP exists here. I'm not sure what Brian Shannon's View Up is, but we have Anchor View Up right here as a tool. Awesome. I don't see any other questions. So I want to recap what we covered today and what were the key takeaways. First is how do you use presets? The first step to that is define your trading style, day, swing, position. Based on that, take a look at these presets and these traders. I'm sure you know the backgrounds of many of these traders that we've included in the platform. And then you can copy them over as well, right? Duplicate them, make them your own, tweak them. Second, a step-by-step guide to build your own screen. You want to have a 30,000 view of the type of trader that you are. And then the next thing is a 20,000 view of, feet view of what do you look for in the markets. Generally define that universe. Have a base criteria for most of your screens as to how you want to trade the markets, right? It all trickles down to the type of trader. Now you're looking for the type of stocks, and it really starts with those two things for you to narrow down to what type of things what type of characteristics you're looking for in the markets. To organize how things are moving, use alerts. Like we said, top side, bottom side alerts. Alerts are, you have unlimited, you have 600 alerts you can set. Obviously, you want to be careful with, if you have too many, they won't be useful. And if you have too few, they won't be useful as well. So you want to find that balance in the between two of them, those two things. The two screens that you want to use, if you're here for that and you want to, you want me to give you two screens, the Deepvue Universe and the F1 volume will give you stocks that are in bullish momentum and strong in the markets really, really quickly. The Deepvue Universe will almost never miss a strong stock as it's about to break out, or before it's about to break out, or it's broken out just now. So the screen is built to capture all these three things. That's why we call it the universe. There are past webinars for you to access. The education page will be available here on Tuesday morning. We will enable that and put it in, make it live. So you don't go anywhere else for previous webinars. They will all be available over here. So Launchpad screen, how is this used? Oh, the Launchpad screen is for rotation, to spot rotation in the markets. You probably want to go to traderline.com, sign up for the UTG Lite, and we talk about Launchpads in depth and what they do. And we have a whole topic that we actually uploaded this morning to that course. It's completely free. So with that, I will end it there. This lasted for 50 minutes. If you guys have any follow-up questions, feel free to tag me on X or anywhere, in the comments on X. I'll always try to answer them as best as I can about the platform, about what's coming up, etc. So that communication is always open. And if you guys have any questions, always use the help menu to get your questions answered by the team. We're trying to stay on top of that as best as we can. Thanks so much, and I wish you guys a good weekend.